Right. Now, I want to swing to Tim Walz here, right? Just real quick, I want to play this clip because I found this disturbing. A plaque from the Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers is being displayed in the Minneapolis state capitol, thanking Governor Tim Walz for allowing the spread of Satanism. Let me.
This is Representative P.M. Altendorf coming live at you from the Minnesota State Capitol. I am on the ground floor, and as I was leaving my committee meeting today here earlier, I noticed that there is a new display here at the State Capitol, and it's for Governor Walz. It's right here on display. So let me see. I mean, I guess I can't flip my phone, but I'll see if I can show it to you. So this is what we have here, everyone. Let me read it to you. The Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers thanks Governor Tim Walz for not standing in the way of spreading Satanism in the state capitol building. Satan has a special place for you. That's right, everyone. So the Democratic Coalition of Satan Worshippers, they have given some sort of plaque here to Governor Tim Walz. So let me be the first, I guess, to congratulate Governor Tim Walz for this very special award that has come from the Satan worshippers here in the Minnesota State Capitol. Yes, everyone, this is true. I am live, not making this up. You can't make this up. I don't know what else to say. I would think if you're Governor Tim Walz, you could choose not to have up this plaque. I don't know why a governor of a state would want this plaque, but there it is. Let me show you. Here we are live at the state capitol, and the Satan worshippers have thanked Governor Tim Walz. And let me repeat this. The last line says, Satan has a special place for you. I'm speechless.
Well, you know, isn't it the Democratic thing to always say, look at these people, these hideous people that back Donald Trump and MAGA? Well, what do they have to say about this backing from this source? Remember, this guy was running as vice president of the United States just a heartbeat away from being commander in chief. So, you know, it is what it is. So let's see, in my lifetime, I've had 1, 2 vice presidents that took over because something happened to the president. One tricky dick, he resigned to avoid being impeached so he could get pardoned by the new appointee, Jerry Ford, who took over from, Spiro Agnew, who was vice president and got indicted and wound up serving time in, I believe it was Maryland and in the federal system. And then John F. Kennedy got blown away, and you have Lyndon Baines Johnson became the president. So these things happen, you know, and it's real.
They still got to deal with that fraud. President Trump just confirmed Minnesota fraud could be over $100 billion.
$100 billion, good Lord.
Right.
And it's like maybe a couple of hundred people stole $100 billion is like, that's like 1/6, 1/7 of the Defense Department or the War Department's budget. You know, that's a whole lot of money. That's more than the United States is spending on education.
Mm-hmm. So what else is this? Also came out of Minnesota as well. ICE assistant director says his men spend hours confronting the 5-year-old child the fake news keep lying was detained. Because I don't know if you've seen this. This happened last week that the news media, legacy news media, they were saying that, ICE detained a 5-year-old just to get the father, to detain the father and deport the father. And he had the little boy's picture. I'm not going to show his picture. And so they did a press conference, the ICE assistant director, and basically saying, my officers, they did not detain a 5-year-old. So I just want to play this clip.
This week, ICRO conducted targeted enforcement operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien who was released back into the interior of the United States by the previous administration. When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing, and now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their immigration proceedings. This is the real face of ICE, ERO, Border Patrol, and our allied partners.
Yeah.
So there's a little thing to this. It's like one time I sentenced some woman and she said, "What am I going to do about my children?" I said, "Ma'am, you should have thought about that before you committed this major felony that you have received a 20-year sentence in the penitentiary for. Now somebody's going to have to take your children." "Well, I don't have any relatives with you. Can't take them into the 5 of them into the penitentiary with you. You should have thought about that before you did your crime. You've been found guilty, and it's a situation you offered to plead guilty to a lesser included offense, but the offer was revoked because of some new developments. So it's not like you don't acknowledge that you did it, but you should have thought about that. It's not don't do the crime if you can't do the time and pay the fine. There's some other consequences too. So these people trespassed on, not these people, but so many trespassed on our border criminally and exposed us to great liability for collective harm. And of course, authorities have to take strong reaction to do something about it. And the bottom line is if we hadn't allowed several million people to crash our border, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. And if the Biden administration had kept track of the people that were coming in instead of just letting them walk across without checking them at all, we wouldn't be in this situation where we don't know who, but we have some national security concerns that are very important.
And again, so Tim Walz, he had
You mean favorite of Satan?
Okay. He deployed the state National Guards, and so they're there, right? And I think he should have did this from the beginning, because the National Guards, they're handing out donuts and coffee to the protesters, and that eases the tension. Well, why?
They don't need to ease attention. That's bullshit. What they need to do is kick some goddamn ass. So you say, bring your ass out here. This is a matter of security for the United States of America. Bring your ass out here and start clowning around and acting like you're sympathetic to this mess. it ain't gonna be nice. That cut out a lot of this.
Made me play this.
But they try to be nice to everybody.
Donuts, hot chocolate.
What are you guys giving out?
Donuts, hot chocolate.
And you're with the Minnesota National Guard?
We are. Yes, we are.
Why was this important for you guys to do today?
It's a demonstration of safety and security. We're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's bullshit. They're breaking the law, and you want to go out there as a a military adjunct of the national security apparatus and say, we're going to give you coffee and donuts in the cold while you're doing this. Get your ass away or take the cold. You don't have to sit there and quasi-endorse it. This is just sick. Mm-hmm. That's like what happened before the Civil War when the South was going around consolidating its control over federal military and naval resources, and certain people were going, oh, take them, go right ahead. We understand you like slaves and they're good for the economics and your financial circumstances and your social structure. We understand, so go right ahead. We understand why you're going to do this. And then we got Fort Sumter, and the bloodiest war the United States has ever been in, where more people got killed or wounded than all of the rest of the wars we've been in combined. Oh, yeah. And it looks just like that, except I don't think it's going to be a shooting war, but it's going to be very, very nasty.
Did you see footage of the protesters last night? They were vandalizing a hotel on the outside, blowing their horns because they're like, okay, so ICE agents are staying at this hotel. We're going to blow our horns. We're going to try to break down the front door to get in there. And they had to lock the front door so that the protesters won't come in. No police officers in sight. Hours later, police officers showed up to arrest they're not even protesters, you're disruptors at that point. So again, the National Guard handing out donuts and coffee, but why weren't you patrolling that area where the protesters were clearly vandalizing a hotel property?
It's, in other words,
people are sleeping besides ICE agents. So,
in other words, it's no consequence rebellion. Actually, the Democrats were calling January 6, 2020 a rebellion. It wasn't. A rebellion doesn't consist of 180 people that are invited into a public building who commit minor or misdemeanor vandalism. But this is a rebellion without organized violence in terms of military force, with people lined up with rifles or shotguns or pistols trying to do things that way. This is rebellion without consequence.
So Pam Bondi, she is going to be coming after Don Lemon.
Great.
Yeah, I want to play this clip. AG Bondi. His
husband can bring him some fruitcake or something in if it is his inspection. I'll put him some money on the commissary.
His commentary, obviously in support of them. Does the fact that he claims to be an independent journalist, does that factor into the law at all?
Well, he's an online agitator. That's what he is now. And sure, if you're a journalist and you're covering a story, that's not what he was doing. We all know that. We have the video. It speaks for itself. He was in there with all these other people. If you were in there, if you protested and went into that church on the Sunday and you terrorized the parishioners, we are coming after you. That pastor is a wonderful man. I met with that pastor. Sean, these people were staged sitting in the church as well. Then they burst in through all doors, including Don Lemon, and started harassing and antagonizing and terrorizing these parishioners. A woman ran out the back door, scared to death, and broke her arm. We are coming after you if you participated in that. I don't care who you are. If you're a failed CNN journalist, you have no right to do that in this country. We don't live in a third world country. We're going to protect our houses of worship in this country.
Well, you know what's interesting about this? They've got this fool out there before the event, and it's clear that from what he's saying, the tone, the words, the context, that he is collaborating with them. So that takes it out of the way. And the other thing is I guess they're getting this from a new trend in journalism, which happened during the sand pile fracasses for the last 26 years, where a journalist is embedded with a military unit. They used to call that being a war correspondent, where through a license granted to you by the military, you were allowed to go along with the troops or the ships and watch what was going on and report it.
So
Now,
Trump
what is he supposed to be? Embedded with the violators of the law, the rioters?
What Trump posted on Truth Social, appeals court finds evidence to charge Don Lemon over church protests, but won't force arrest warrant. So a federal appeals court concluded that the Justice Department has shown probable cause to charge former CNN anchor Don Lemon in connection with a protest inside a St. Paul, Minnesota church. But the court declined to order a lower court judge to sign the arrest warrants with prosecutors sought. The decision.
Well, that's a whole different thing. They can go find another magistrate.
The decision, unsealed Saturday by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit, came after the Justice Department asked the appeals court to overrule a Minnesota magistrate judge who refused to approve multiple arrest warrants related to the protests. So,
well, there's another way around it. You know what it is?
What?
Screw the arrest warrant on probable cause. Just go in front of a grand jury and get indictments. So that Mr. Lemon will be not going through the preliminary hearing phase that would have happened that way. The feds can just move directly in with indictments. The local district attorney or anybody impacted in that jurisdiction, if they want to go statewide, can go in and get an indictment. Probably they won't on a state level because just like the sheriff here, they want to get reelected because it's a nice job that they have. They can strut around in a uniform. They don't have to be out in the streets getting shot at like the deputies or going through brawls and getting their shirts ripped because they have to put somebody under control. And it's very dignified being the sheriff. It's very dignified being the attorney general. But take a look at one we pay a lot of attention to, Ms. Willis, down in Atlanta, Fulton County. Now, would you expect her to return indictments that was saying something that Trump's administration or MAGA was up to? No, they wouldn't. But that doesn't mean that the new U.S. attorney for the district can't get federal indictments, which is ramping it up a level, but it is what it is.